Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords. And remember a while back when I was fighting against the cancel attempt against Ernie Gygax, but I did at the same time tell everyone, you probably shouldn't get into, you shouldn't be too eager about the new TSR. Well, stuff happened these last couple of days. You might remember, in case some of you who are watching this don't know the most recent news, that there was a new company that got the trademark and name of TSR somehow. I don't know how Wizards let that go. I guess they didn't care about it enough and didn't realize that someone else would use it or something. And this was a guy named Justin Lanasa, who is now the owner of this new TSR. TSR being the company that made the original Dungeons and Dragons way back when. Now it's Wizards of the Coast that make it, but that's because they bought them out when TSR went bankrupt. But Justin Lanasa's got the TSR name, and he recruited Ernie Gygax, one of Gary Gygax's sons, right, to act as like a kind of spokesperson, and made huge promises of all these incredible products that they were going to make. And so far, I'm pretty sure their track record continues to be 0 actual products made, as in RPG products. I think they've created a lot of stuff with their corporate logo on it and memorabilia and things like that, but actual RPGs, 0, right? However, that doesn't mean that they haven't been claiming that they're going to make RPGs. And one of the ones that they were claiming that they were going to make was a new version of the Star Frontiers game. Now, Star Frontiers was a TSR company science fiction RPG, right? It was not the first science fiction RPG that TSR did. That would have been actually the precursor to Gamma World, Metamorphosis Alpha, But it was the one that in the early 80s was their attempt to make a sci-fi RPG. It wasn't extremely popular, but it has always had certain loyal fans. And they've been playing this game of this shell game. The game with the 3 little shells and you're moving around and you've got to try to guess where the P is, and it's always rigged, right? So you always think that you know where it's going to be, and then it isn't. Well, that seems to be how they've proceeded with all of their products. But in particular with Star Frontiers, to the point they've claimed that it's out and sold out, immediately sold out, right? But nobody apparently has the Star Frontiers book. And then they did this, if you have the new TSR Star Frontiers book, please say so and show proof, because I won't believe you otherwise at this point. They literally photoshopped some pile of books at Barnes and Noble or whatever, and photoshopped the cover to the Star Frontiers cover. Really crazy stuff, right? But the craziest thing is that it turns out that the guy that they hired to write Starfront, or the guys we don't know if they hired him. I'll get to that in a second. But the guy who's supposedly writing this new Star Frontiers, who I think has no connection to the original people that made Star Frontiers in the 80s, so don't get mad at them about this, right? But the new guy has now been outed about a day ago as having, let's say, certain social media accounts that post extremely racist and homophobic and misogynist and list offensive things, and this guy has posted it, right? But seriously though, I'm not talking about a case where you could say, because a lot of you watching this video are probably people who are very suspicious of anything that looks like cancel culture and of claims made, right? Because there are people that have taken something I've said, either taken out of context or in isolation or in some other way, that it's very easy to look at 10 years of social media posts of different kinds and you end up finding 2 things that might be kind of possibly offensive, and then you like post that everywhere and say, see, this is proof, right, that this guy is evil, right? But that's not what's going on here. This guy, Dave Johnson, who, no, I don't think he's the artist Dave Johnson, by the way, in case you're doubting it, but he's just some guy. He has an RPG company called, I think, Dave Johnson Productions or something, who is like collaborating with TSR supposedly to make Star Frontiers, supposedly. Look at that tail. And he's posted huge numbers. And now we found, they found on multiple accounts, and it's undoubtedly proven that this is the guy, right? Like there's not really any question about it. And I don't post like links or stuff here because I'm not I do lo-fi videos, right? But if you want to find this, all you really need to do is do a Google search where you do the time limit for like this past week and do like Dave Johnson, Star Frontiers, or even Dave Star Frontiers, and then, racist or something, or, the name of the political affiliation that rhymes with Yahtzee. And you'll see, right? Like we're talking about stuff. It's stuff that you can find like at the deepest cesspits of 8chan or something like that, right? So a lot of it is basically memes that this guy has posted, but he's posted them across now at least 4 accounts, right? And like in his Facebook account, apparently he was posting the mildest ones, right? And but that was enough that you could see that they were being posted at the same time as the one on his like secret Twitter account, that you knew that it was the same guy. And there's like literally a photo that he took. Like he wasn't very careful about concealing who he is or anything like that, right? And he's posted stuff with direct, the worst racial slurs you can imagine, right? Stuff with extremely prejudiced context of all different kinds, right? Like basically you want to look at some kind of ism and he has covered it, right? So this is, and including like stuff that looks to be glorifying, once again, the political party that rhymes with Yahtzee, right? Like, and quite directly, right? Now you could say, oh, well, he's just trolling, right? Well, that's really crappy trolling, right? I've never really bought into that because like, if you're using direct racial slurs, how, the line between trolling and doing it because you actually want to say those racial slurs is not, there isn't a real border there, So this is a guy who's acting really shitty, right? He's somewhere below M.A.R. Barker, right? He hasn't published a novel about how great it would be if the SS came back and fought a racial war, right? He hasn't done that, but he's somewhere way above, the sort of stuff that other people have been attacked for. Like he's, this isn't Venture Satanis trying to be kind of edgy by attacking the pro-abortion movement, right? It isn't that. This is not. They're not going. I mean, I'm sure that they are going after people that have exposed this guy are going after him because they hate new-TSR, and there are probably some political reasons for that, right? These are people who are WotC fanatics, right? Who are dedicated to the 5th edition changes, and they don't like anything to do with the OSR or with grognards or whatever. But I warned people about in the OSR not to get into bed with new-TSR, because not because I think that they are all alt-right Yahtzees. This guy might very well be. It seems really likely to me that he is, right? But again, we're not even 100% sure he's like an employee even, or even a direct partner, because it seems like he has his own publisher. And And the thing that I know about what TSR has been doing, because I speak to a lot of people who have like small press, publishers. A lot of them come and speak to me. I get people that send me, direct messages or private emails asking for advice about, stuff. I get people that are, sharing stuff that they found that they think will be interesting news to me, gossip, secret stuff, right? I've got insiders on companies, all kinds of people contact me all the time telling me stuff, right? Because because I'm a public face that can sometimes get that stuff out there, right? Or that they think I should know about it. And one of the things that happened not too long ago, a while back, but around the beginning of the year, I think, was that there were several publishers that contacted me, like small press guys, right? Like really small fry, that they had been invited or reached out to by TSR to make like a business alliance or something like that, so it's very clear that TSR has been going around. Justin Lanasa has been going around trying to get into like these kind of contractual deals with other small press publishers, right? Like I think TSR, he wants to use it as to use the name as a way for small press companies to sell their products with the TSR label on it. Like he's trying to basically, he'll get a cut, right? And in exchange, they get to use that logo, because it's very clear that Lanasa's not a game designer, and Ernie Gygax sure as hell isn't a game designer. And, these guys, their job is really their business is to sell that TSR logo. That's what he thinks is going to get him, money. He doesn't really want to go to all the trouble of being a publisher himself, I think, right? And so I'm pretty sure that that's the deal that Lanasa did with this Dave Johnson guy, right? Did Lanasa know what Dave Johnson posts or what he thought? I don't know. I have no idea. For as far as I know, they could have been like buddies for life, or they could maybe have never even have physically met each other. I had no idea, right? But the important thing is that Lanasa's, everybody who asked me about it, I told them, look, if I was you, don't get involved with TSR. Like TSR seems to me to be kind of shady in general, right? Like it's a guy who has like a history of some dubious things, and he has he's gotten the lesser son of Gary Gygax on board, with promises of relevance and stuff like that. And then he is going around trying to make these shady deals where he's basically just like trying to get a cut out of other people's work, right? And having the TSR logo on your product is not very likely to make it stand out more, at least not in a good way. Certainly not in a good way, given the recent, discovery that has happened now with this Dave Johnson guy and Star Frontiers and his alt-right Yahtzee views, right? So, that's basically the situation that has emerged from this. And of course, some people are trying to turn that to like attack, to say that TSR itself is somehow like a white supremacist organization or something like that. I don't think that's right. Because again, I don't think that he even is technically an employee. He's a business partner of TSR's that Lanasa may or may not know anything about, actually, right? But it certainly proves that Lanasa sure knows how to pick him, doesn't he? My God. But it also shows something else, right? And this is like the part where I think it's very amusing, because like you will remember that the last video I did about TSR, I think, right? And the last time TSR got big in the news was because Ernie Gygax was interviewed in some YouTube channel, and he made some comments about how he kind of doesn't think that, he thinks RPGs should be fun, and he doesn't think that RPGs should be about like talking about sexual identity or diversity or stuff like that, right? He said, old guy shit, But his intention, what he meant to say from that was very clear. And the entire RPG left, all of the yahtzee people, all of the story gamers, all of the D&D wokists and the RPG wokists called him a Yahtzee. Right? They called him an alt-right Yahtzee. And they called basically for him to be drummed out of the hobby forever and for the Gygax name to be erased from history and everything under the sun, right? Because he said, I think games should be fun, right? So here's the problem, wokists, right? You guys, not that long ago, tried to destroy a man and said that he was basically Heinrich Himmler for having said, I disagree with what you like to do with your tactics of how you're trying to push in this political message on RPGs. He didn't say anything that was, that was remotely like what this Dave Johnson guy has said or posted anyways, what he's promoted on his social media. He hasn't, he didn't make jokes about the Holocaust. He didn't do anything that would justify the attacks you made against him. So now, why the fuck, this is how you ridiculize yourself, right? Like by attacking someone like Ernie Gygax in that way, you delegitimize the argument against people like Dave Johnson. Now you know what you do? You make my job a lot fucking harder, right? Because I'm the one that has actually been, opposed to neo-Nazis and white supremacists in the RPG hobby for years. You guys don't fight them. I fight them. I'm the one that stands up to people like Bart McKearns, right? And every time that you dumbasses go to some guy who used the wrong pronouns and say, oh, this guy is a Yahtzee, right? Then I'm suddenly stuck with the situation that when an actual guy, when freaking M.A.R. Barker is revealed to have written a book for Stormfront's favorite publisher, and it was an anti-Semitic racist book about the SS, in the future coming back and taking over and saving the world, right? Like when it's like that level of this guy was literally, he was a part of the board of the most famous Holocaust denial journal in history, right? This when it's like that blatant, I had to spend weeks fighting with people who refused to believe it because they said, well, but that's what they say about us all the time, right? It's got to be a fake because that the wokists make up shit and lie all the time and they exaggerate all the time, right? So why should we believe them? It's the boy who cried wolf. And so if you're going to find now, I'm sure you will, a lot of people that will say, well, that will now jump to the defense of TSR. It's not because they like, Yahtzee. It's because they don't believe you because you've constantly lied and you've constantly exaggerated. Okay? And it's your fault that they don't believe you now. So don't forget that. Anyways, that's it for me today, I think. If you like this video, please share it anywhere. And I would certainly say you might not want to, luckily you can't really get the Star Frontier game because it never came out as far as I can tell. But even if it did, you probably don't want to get it. But if you want to get an OSR science fiction RPG that only costs like $9.99, it's a thin book, it's 32 pages, but it's like super packed. It's a gold bestseller for a reason. It's been super popular. Get RPG Pundit's Star Adventurer. And if you prefer more gonzo sci-fantasy stuff, World of the Last Sun. And check out all my other books too. If you want to support me, whether it's in my fight against the wokists or my fight against, the alt-right people in trying to infiltrate the hobby, right? The Bart McKearns crowd, all the actual white supremacists, and the commies, all of them. I'll fight them all. But if you want to help me out with that, then you could send me money on Patreon. But instead, you can also check out my books. I have 106 PDFs in the RPG Pundit Presents series and you're bound to find something there that you can use in your game and that you're going to enjoy, and it's only going to cost you a few bucks. None of my products are very expensive. Even Invisible College, that's 430 pages long. I think you can get for like $40, right? So it's not a bad deal, right? So check it out. Check out my books. None of them are about pushing some kind of political agenda. They're all about gaming and really interesting stuff and OSR gaming. So it's all intercompatible and it's all compatible with the original D&D rules. Take a look at it and share this video everywhere that you think people are going to be interested about it or that people could be pissed off about it. Thank you very much. Currently smoking Bladder Diplomat plus Argento Natural.